I'm James Parker, and this is Florida Story. Yeah, thank you so much. Let's see what the geniuses in Florida are up to this week, shall we? All right, I want to start with a guy who is 21 years old. He's at a park when the cops show up. He was called the cops because he had been shot. So the cops started asking him a few questions. How did you get shot? He said, well, I was being carjacked by these two guys, and one of them shot me, and then they ran off. And they said, I noticed you have a gun that has been fired in the passenger seat. He said, yes. When they tried to carjack me, I grabbed my gun, and as they were running away, I fired 5 shots at them. And so the cops looked around, and they said, well, where's the shell casing for the gun that they fired? And the 21-year-old Florida man said, oh, I saw the shooter pick up his own shell casing. That sounds a little suspicious. So they take him to the hospital to get treated for the gunshot wound to his leg. And the cops are talking to each other. Something doesn't add up. So they go ask him again, you sure you want to tell us the real story? Okay, he wasn't carjacked. He was at the park, and he and his girlfriend got into an argument. And so then he went to his car and got his gun, and he says he was playing with it. I guess, I don't know, twirling around with it like Doc Holliday or something. And he accidentally shot himself. Well, 21-year-old Florida man, why did you make up this story about being carjacked? Well, because he thought it would be embarrassing, and he would also get in trouble with his employer for playing with a gun in a public park. It turns out he is employed as a dispatcher for the local sheriff's department. And yes, he did lose his job. And his girlfriend. Hold my beer.
Wait,
Hold my beer.
what?
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. What is this?
For our next Florida story, we have a guy that is on the run. What we have is a man who got in trouble with the law, decided that he is going to try and hide out in Florida. There's some other charges. Someone has a restraining order on him and some piddly stuff. No, I mean, nothing too serious. It's not like he's a serial killer, but he's from the Minneapolis area. And I guess that whenever you buy a plane ticket after you've been hiding out in Florida for so long and you have a warrant, the sheriff's department gets flagged because he noticed, the plane just landed. He's on the tarmac. They just docked, and it looks like the cops are here to arrest someone. Gee, does anyone on this flight have any warrants? Oh, yeah, I do.
Police were waiting at the gate to arrest a 44-year-old New Brighton man when he opened an emergency door over a wing and took off. The attempted escape occurred around 11:15 p.m. on a parked Sun Country Airlines flight from Orlando. Airport employees found the man inside an airline service food truck minutes later. He was arrested and is being held at the Hennepin County Jail. Police say he was wanted on felony drug charges and for violating a restraining order.
I think a good lesson learned here is one of the worst places that you can try to evade security personnel is probably at an airport. Just throwing it out there. Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. What is this?
This next Florida story actually starts back in 2013. The Florida Stories series did not exist back then, but this sounds like something I would have told you about. A sinkhole opened up. These two brothers were living in a house together, and a sinkhole opened up right under one of their bedrooms. But the sinkhole was so wide and so deep, it ended up collapsing the whole house. The other brother survived, and he immediately called the cops and then went back to try and get to his brother, but no one ever got to him. And so what they end up doing is out of the giant sinkhole that was left, I mean, there was after all the rubble and everything had fallen into the sinkhole, it was still 13 feet deep. So we don't really know how far down these things go. And the normal protocol with sinkholes is you just fence off that area and consider it a no man's land. So they put double chain link fencing around it. And then they fill what's left of the sinkhole with loose gravel and liquid. I'm assuming water, but they say liquid in the story because they expect further settling of whatever cavern far underneath the ground to continue. And that will prevent it from opening up a new sinkhole is if you leave this sort of the weakest link in the chain there. And it prevents other sinkholes from filling up. And then they just keep going and filling it back in until it's gone. And so what we have here in this story is the sinkhole that swallowed that guy, it actually did have another sinking. The visual on this is incredible because the sinkhole at first didn't actually swallow up the whole house, but they had to go through and, get as much rubble from around it as they could to clean it up and put the fence around it. And so when you look at this thing, it looks like it's about the diameter of a van. It's like a pretty big car all the way around, and it is sunk back up, and the gravel and liquid that were there are there no more, and it's just a giant hole again.
It doesn't appear to have grown overnight. We obviously you don't want to get too close to start with measuring with a measuring tape. Approximately, I'd say 12 feet by 12 feet. And this is not uncommon, what we're seeing right here, reoccurrences. It's actually the preferred way of doing it, the way we handled it the first time, the way we filled it. That way, when there's a reoccurrence, it's in a controlled area, hence behind me you see double fences. So we can kind of control the situation. So
you can do something right, everything right your entire life. You can never commit a sin. You can never run with scissors. You can always wear your helmet when you're riding a bicycle. But sometimes people are just going to die anyway. It's just your turn. I like how he says this is not uncommon. Yeah, it is. I've never seen that before. Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. What is this?
For our next Florida story, we're going to Nassau County, where we have a 17-year-old mom. You heard correctly, 17-year-old mom. And her 9-month-old girl. We already know we're not going to get a Mother of the Year story. Now you're just wondering how bad can it be? About as bad as it could possibly be. Let's ask the Sheriff Bill Leeper of Nassau County to describe what happens next.
The mother was tired and wanted to take a nap. She gave her baby a bottle, laid him down in his crib to take a nap. We received information from the medical examiner's office that the child had 29 nanograms per milliliter of blood in his system, and the cause of death was ruled fentanyl overdose.
All right, so the sheriff has the autopsy report that says the baby died. The 9-month-old died from a fentanyl overdose, and apparently the mom had put the drugs into the baby's bottle in order to get her to take a nap so mom could take a nap. But the mom's defense, when asked, why did you give your baby fentanyl? She said, I didn't think it was fentanyl. I thought it was cocaine.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. What is this?
Florida Stories is produced by Spring Rock. Follow me on Twitter at Florida Stories J. I'm James Parker, and this is Florida Stories. James Parker here. I've been working with Dwayne Stein on the radio version of Mortgage Gumbo for years, and then a couple of years ago, I actually needed a mortgage. Me and my wife were moving to another state, and this was complicated. I'm a self-employed guy, so I like to, for tax purposes, have my income as low as possible. So does that hurt me qualifying? Wife is quitting her job and taking a new job. We're selling an existing house while at the same time buying a new house. All kinds of complications. And Dwayne's not just full of hot air on the radio show. He took the reins, took care of it for me, got all my paperwork. Him and Sam teamed up, and if there was a request for more info, they usually jumped on it before I even saw the email. Someone, I'm not going to name any names, but one of our realtors missed something in the paperwork, and Dwayne caught it. I'm not making this up just to make a good commercial. He's legit. So if you're buying, you need a refi, reverse, anything like that, call Dwayne Stein at Mortgage Gumbo. Go to mortgagegumbo.com.
Dad can.